All right, everybody, thank you for sticking around and joining us for the new release rundown. We are joined by Liz from Uncle's Games up in Bellevue. We don't have a selection of physical games this week, so we're going to have to use our imaginations and fill in the holes to be able to talk through everything that has come out this week and what people might be intrigued by. So you had given us kind of a short list of about 6 or 7 different games you want to talk about. Which one? I'm sorry, actually, before I even get that far, I was a little rude. Do you want to talk about yourself or your store?
Yes. So my store is at the Crossroads Mall, and we had just done a bunch of renovations first week of May, so we wanted to create more of like an event space.
Yeah,
so
I went back recently and had seen kind of the shift, and it was quite a shock.
Yes, it was great to watch people like come down the steps, and they don't even get to the last step before they're like, wait, what? Where is everything? Where's my D&D? No, but we have a lot more space for events now, so we're trying to bring in more events too. So
and the Crossroads Mall itself is also pretty cool because they've got that crazy food court that kind of circles around everything,
which
and
is fantastic.
I think what the rule is that each type of food can only have one restaurant to represent it, or something like that.
That would make a lot of sense, actually, considering all the different types of food
yeah,
that they
like
have.
there's very few like chain restaurants. There's a lot of smaller ethnic
The
choices.
biggest chain we have there is like Cold Stones or something.
I think there's like one
everything
Johnny
else-
Rockets, and that's
Oh,
like
yeah, Johnny
that's the
Rockets,
only
yeah.
American food, and everything else is. There's a really good Russian place. There's a
Oh
Hawaiian
man, the
place.
pierogi place. That,
Yeah, but the Hawaiian place has Loco Moco.
yes.
Anyway.
Yes, they're fantastic too. And we're right next to that Thai place too, so I just like smell the Thai all day. It's so good. And then like QFC's right there too, so you can just go and get your snacks, come in and play your games, and it's so chill. It's so nice. And then we have like the game lane right there too, where a lot of chess players go.
Oh yeah, there's the oversized chessboard that's built into the floor.
Yes, that is beautiful. It's
Great.
fun.
So there were a number of games that you had kind of played through and researched before you came out this week. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Ooh, let's do. I think I'll save my favorite one for last. Let's talk about
Now we'll have to speculate what your favorite one is.
Ah, yes. Maybe Bargain Quest.
Okay, so Bargain Quest first.
Yes. So,
I'm going to pretend that I stand a box there.
I have the box, my imagination opening the
Yep.
box and all the things in it. So you can like choose different like store faces, you know. And so of course my favorite one is the one that has like the Hobbit window, you know, nice and round. It's really pretty. I want it to look, you know, very nice when I put my object in the window.
So Bargain
passerbys to
Quest
see.
is the game of not playing the adventurers going on the journey and,
Yeah.
and saving the world. You're playing the shopkeeper trying to sell them the stuff on their adventure.
Yes, exactly. And you want them to survive that adventure so they can come back and buy more from you. And you also want other adventurers to be like, yo, you obviously sell good stuff, you know. That's just all the NPC stuff that goes on in my head anyway while I'm playing.
Sure.
I'm hiring employees and creating characters for them in my mind because that's just what I do.
Sure.
But it's really cute because it's like you put your item in the front window and it'll have like its attributes, and there's 3 adventurers to choose from that you would want to come into your store. And these adventurers would have their own attributes. So, you know, you have like a roguey person or maybe the paladin person. But what I have in my window, the rogue might want to check out. So she's going to go into my shop, and these adventurers can have like special things they can do. Like when the rogue comes into your shop, well, you can just like steal something off of like someone else's shop. A little sneaky. It's nice.
So the game again came out, I think, 2017.
Yes.
But it's had a couple recent expansions. I think it had like a bunch of webcomic expansions. There was like an Acquisitions Incorporated expansion, I think.
I didn't know that.
There is.
Oh my gosh.
Surprises.
Jim Dark Magic?
Everybody's learning something.
Yes.
But the game as a whole is very humorous. It doesn't take itself super seriously, which is why I think a lot of these webcomics kind of fit into that mold pretty well. But who would you recommend this game for?
I think it would be great for people who are into like adventure type of games because it has
So fantasy fans, D&D fans,
oh
maybe?
absolutely, definitely D&D fans because it has a lot of those kind of tropes into it, and you just.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, a lot of D&D tropes to it.
Sure.
So you can.
Are there any other board games that you can think of that would be similar to it, that people who are fans of those games or comfortable with those games would know that they can kind of translate over to this?
Probably.
It's okay. Well, how about this? Maybe somebody in chat can recommend. That's fine. So,
Steve, I know you're watching.
Yeah, we probably all know somebody in chat.
Yeah.
There are a couple people in there. But yeah, Bargain Quest was one of those games that I didn't play for a long time. And then some friends brought to a bachelor party, I think. And it kind of picked up from there. And people really got into it. There's a lot of people I know who are really, really big into the game now. And so you just played it recently?
Yes, I played it a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And it was adorable. And you're probably going to hear this from me a little bit. When I play games, like the first time I'll play it, I'm just, as I'm figuring it out, I'm not a very competitive person.
Sure.
Board games are huge in my house, and I love my wife to pieces, but oh my goodness, I had to learn to be a graceful loser when I play against this woman. And so when I learn a game, I'm not expecting to win. I'm just there for the experience. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's fine. I've already decided that. It's okay. So it also gives me the ability to create my own little situational world in this. In my shop, I had this employee, and this adventurer came in, and
I know exactly what you mean.
Made eye contact, and there was a romance going on, and I had this whole story with my shop and my employees and the adventurers, and nobody else knew this was going on, but hey,
It's the inner world.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
When I'm learning a new game, there's definitely a whole lot of redefining victory conditions on a very small scale to allow me to feel like I succeeded at the game, even if I technically lost.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was hilarious, and everyone else is trying to do their thing, and I'm just like, this adventurer's over here, she's eyeing the shopkeep, and they're just making eyes, and then the adventurer goes because she was going to bring back the head of a vampire to impress the shopkeep, and she didn't make it. I didn't sell her good enough equipment.
That's a lesson for the future, perhaps?
It just...
So Bargain Quest is a very flavorful game about running the shop that you're selling goods to adventurers, and it has a lot of expansions that have come out relatively recently. So it's kind of a good time to rediscover it if people haven't played it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And I had never played it before, and it just was. I was very, very pleased with it and very excited with it, and. I am excited to add it to my collection.
Now, one of the scales that we try to give people a lot when we are describing games is the spite scale. Like, how spiteful is this game? Like, how much direct player interaction is there? How much can you screw over other players? Or is it something where it's very comfortable and you can all kind of do your own thing?
So, I love games that causes fights.
Okay.
I am just that kind of a person. I like to wind people up and watch them go. I was teaching Munchkin for 3 years. I want to see fights.
Okay.
And I
So
will
high
go. I will
spite
be
is what you're
happy
saying.
to lose if I can upset somebody.
Okay. I think that is probably the definition of spite, yes.
Yes. Especially if I know for a fact I'm not going to win, well, guess what? I'm going to make your life harder. So anything that helps me, steal from you, or you have coins over there, and you look like you're going to win. Well, I'm just going to take your coins. Or you're having a bad day. I'm sorry. I'm taking your coins too. I'm not really sorry about it, but. No, this game has a little bit of spiteness to it because, with the rogue, when she comes into your shop, you can steal from somebody, or you can be like, I know this person wants this adventurer, I'm taking them.
There is some direct player interaction.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. And it was, did I win that by accident? I think I won that game by accident.
Congratulations.
Which is kind of how I end up winning games.
Okay.
Yes.
A question that came up in chat was, how many players does Bargain Quest support?
I believe it's 4.
Okay.
I think it was 4.
It sounds like some of the expansions allow you to go higher than that, but base game, it sounds about 2 to 4 players probably?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. absolutely. I think it'd be funner with 3 players. More fun with 3 players. And but it would be enjoyable with 2. I mean, you know, you can still, you know, make that eye contact with the person ahead of you and just be like, yeah, these are my customers. You can't have them.
I have a feeling that any game that you play, you're going to introduce some spite level to.
My brother's one there.
You can say hi.
Hi, Billy. I see you.
So, what game would you like to cover next?
Ooh, let's do, Terror Below.
Okay.
That was enjoyable.
Great.
Because I was probably way too young when I saw that movie, Tremors. Yes, I loved that movie.
It absolutely looks like Tremors, the board game.
It is. It is Tremors, the board game. That's what it is. They're graboids. I mean, they're not graboids because you can't, you know, do that. But that's what they were. They're giant, beautiful worms. And you have, like, the queen worm that has, like, all these pretty things on her. And she's huge. And what it is that they have, like, these little eggs that they lay out on the board.
Isn't the board like a big egg-shaped thing itself?
It is a big egg. It is so pretty. I love the way the board is set up, and just for like the look of the thing, you get these like pretty worms that you can stand around the board just so you can look at them because the art's gorgeous. I loved it. And you have these 4 bases, and you are trying to grab these eggs to take them to the bases for, you know, whatever
research purposes or something.
Obviously. I mean, you know, because that's totally what the government base is doing. It's not like they're going to take the egg and try to, you know, utilize
Turn
the
it
worm
into
for
a xenomorph weapon or something?
Xenomorphs, yes. Yes, exactly, because that's what we would do. But, so while you're trying to get these eggs, there's rubble everywhere because, you know, the worms are coming up and they're making messes, as giant worms do. And they can't help it. It's just what they do. And so you're trying to pick up these little rubble bits, and you have to clear the rubble before you can move your little vehicle, which you have these different vehicles, and they all can do, like, one specific thing. Oh, no, it was a person you have that can do one specific thing.
So
and they're, like,
different players will have different powers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Some people would be like, you know, more punchier than others. Some people can go faster than others. So, you know, whichever aesthetic would be like, or whichever type of person that you think would work best for your play style.
Sure.
I need to be punchy because, you know, I want that power that nobody else can do. And if I don't play it right, at least they can't be punchy at me. So is it a competitive game then? Each player is trying to get more eggs themselves? You are working together, kind of. Because, you know, I mean, we're all trying to get the eggs, but no, it's kind of competitively too, because there's like 4 different color eggs, and certain outposts want certain colors. So if I need this orange egg over here, and then Sammy's over here, and he wants to take, you know, an orange egg over there for his outpost, and I'm like, you know, maybe I could just move this one over here a little bit, and then, the other thing you do too, you can, when you move, you have these cards, you know, that have you move, and every time you do this, you place a card on one of the worms. You have like 4 of the worms here, and after, I think, for the queen, you need 4 cards. You need 4 of the movement cards at the queen for her to activate.
Okay.
And there's like these little tokens that get moved around, and that's where they're going to be activated, is wherever these tokens are.
Sure.
And so if I'm like, you know, well, I don't want Sammy to get this egg, so I'm going to be sure that when I move, the worm closest to him is going to get activated and try to eat him. Okay. You know, take him out of the
So it's a competitive game where each player is trying to collect as many eggs from the worms for themselves as they can. And it sounds like the players also get to control the worms that activate on other players' turns? Or influence that?
Yes, they influence it, very much so. Like for a while, the queen was following me and made me super nervous, obviously, because, you know, she's big and pretty. And while she's gorgeous, I don't want to be eaten by her.
She's too gorgeous to behold.
Yes, exactly. So... yeah, and the other thing too is the rubble. When you're picking up the rubble, you can get, I think it's either 3 or 4 pieces of rubble, and you can exchange that for an artifact or like an item or a weapon. One of the weapons, it's a potato gun.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
Totally reasonable, and it can kill a worm.
Okay, that
because
maybe seems
potatoes,
reasonable.
I guess.
Well, usually a potato gun you don't load with potatoes.
No.
It's just a phrase. It shoots anything that's potato-sized. That's why you put like rocks and beer cans in it.
Oh. which would make sense because
Yeah.
there's rocks all over the place.
Yep.
Wow.
See,
know,
we're
in
learning
high
something
school-
new with each game.
It's okay. In high school, I learned that pina coladas were not made out of peanuts because they weren't peanut coladas. I mean, it's just.
Hey.
And now I learned that potato guns can shoot more things than just potatoes.
I think it was less than 10 years ago that I finally learned what beer pong was, and it was not drunk people playing pong in the Atari. So everybody has blind spots.
Thank you. You made me feel better. Thank you.
So Terrible O was on Kickstarter. It was very successful, and it is basically Tremors, the board game. So are there any other games that you feel that it would be similar to that you might recommend people check this out if they're fans of those?
I'm sorry. It takes me a while.
It's okay.
I'm terrible at comparing them.
When you were playing it, was there any game that you felt it was kind of familiar or similar to?
Ooh.
An entirely new, unique experience?
It was new to me.
Great.
Yeah. It kind of, no, maybe not. Yeah, I can't think of a game that I've played that I would
That's
really
fine.
compare it to. I was just
Okay.
totally absorbed in the fact that, oh my gosh, these are graboids.
Okay.
'Cause,
So basically, if you're a fan of Tremors, which just about everyone should be,
yes.
you should play this game.
Otherwise, you're just wrong. Because, the third movie, don't worry about it. But like the second movie, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Terrifying.
Sweet.
And beautiful. Yes.
And how many players does that support?
5?
It's a usual board game number.
Yeah. Usual
Okay.
board game number, for
Okay.
sure. For
How do you feel the spite level is on that? It sounds like
sure.
if I can.
So spite.
I was about to say, if you can influence
So
the
much
queen
spite.
worm to follow somebody around,
Absolutely.
that sounds like high spite.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I could just like imagine, my playing, with my brother, who is, making fun of me, watching you. He would like have all the worms after me for sure. Which I wouldn't be too upset about because they're beautiful. If I was to die in any way, it'd be
So one
beautiful
way to
worm.
redefine the victory conditions for this game is just to collect all the worms.
You're collecting all the eggs, but yes.
Okay.
Which, oh my gosh, the colors of the eggs. Like, I do have to say, like, when we opened the box and I saw the colors of the eggs, the way that they were created, like the type of plastic that they are, it's nice, beautiful quality. And I immediately have to be like, I need to touch those. And
Well, I remember
just
even
play with them in my hands.
Yeah, even in the Kickstarter, seeing the kind of sculpted board almost, like it wasn't a 3D board per se, but it wasn't just a square board that unfolded. It was shaped like an egg and
Yes.
had a little bit of character around it.
Which, making round boards like that is not easy to do. I didn't even think of that until I was doing volunteer work for Munchkin, and when the Munchkin's Shakespeare Kickstarter came out and they were like, oh, we want to do a round board for the round theater, and it just, I don't think it managed to get that high in the Kickstarter, but it was like such a big deal that, hey, we want to do this, and it, because it's harder to make, I guess. But in Terrible O, like the quality of it, I was really surprised with. I'm
Great.
really excited to bring that into my collection. 'Cause
Awesome.
It's just, oh man, those eggs are so pretty.
Great. Well, what game do you want to tackle next?
Let's see, Terrible O. Mental Blocks blew my mind.
Yeah, I saw this was one of the big games at Gen Con, and it looked like it was a stacking or kind of assembling game, but how does it actually play?
I am absolutely terrible at these stacking
Okay.
games. Atrocious at
All right.
them. So what it is that you have a card, the person in front of you has a card. This is cooperative. We want to work together.
Okay.
And I need to make my side of the blocks look like my card, and the person in front of me is trying to do the same thing with his card. And then we also have 2 other cards that have hints on, okay, well, you know that there's going to be 2 other sides that look like this as well.
Okay.
And that's just what it is.
So if we're playing together,
Yes.
do I know what your side is supposed to look like?
No.
Okay, that was my next question.
No,
Okay.
you don't.
Okay.
And
you're not allowed to tell me, I assume.
no, I'm
Okay.
not. So we're going to be arguing
Okay.
on what blocks I need and what blocks you need.
Okay.
And they're like these nice little foam blocks. They're really nice to touch, and they're
very
smooth.
tactile.
And yes, and then you have 10 minutes to do this too, by the way.
Okay.
So it's like 10 minutes of just me screaming at the person next to me, give me the block, it's mine, I need it for over here, but I'm using it because it works over here, and it works with this
I
one.
might go out on a limb and suspect that designers intended you to communicate calmly and effectively with your partner and not yell at them. I mean,
I'm sure that was the intention.
But it's not
That's
the
not
reality
how it
that
would
you
be in my
experienced?
house.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
well, I think we've already established the spite level that you like to bring to games, so that might contribute to that.
I mean, with a game like this, I'm focusing. I'm not intentionally being spiteful.
Sure. It's just your
But
nature.
it just
is what I'm hearing.
yes.
Okay. All right. But it sounds like it's kind of a cooperative, multiplayer, 3D version of the kind of mind puzzles that you might have gotten as a kid or in school, where it's like you'll get a geometric shape with multiple sides, and then you'll get a bunch of blocks like the square and the rectangle and the triangle and the circle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out how to assemble those to get the shape that you've been shown as the target shape. So it sounds like it's basically that, but 3D with somebody else, and you don't have all the information.
Exactly. And there's only one answer. So it's not like, multiple blocks will do the thing. There is only one answer. And what really blew my mind about this is that the answer was, when we finally got to it, which took us more than 10 minutes, by the way. I was determined to finish this.
Hey, well, I mean, like, anytime we have played one of those unlock or exit games, we start the timer, and then the timer goes off 10 minutes later, and I'm like, whatever, we haven't even figured any of this out. We're just going to go as long as we want to go with this game. Screw the timer. So you ignoring the timer in this one, I fully support.
Can't do that with We're Doomed, and I can't wait to get to that.
Okay.
But with mental blocks, what really Steve, one of my uncle's game cohorts, he was the one that was showing me this game, and as we're trying to figure this out, and Steve is so eloquent and great with this, and was fantastic with me, trying to figure out where the blocks are going and dealing with me destroying what he's doing so I can fix my side, and so when we finally got it, which was mostly his work by the time we figured it out, it just it took me to be I had to move my eyes to the level of the table to really see what. Oh yeah, that is on my card. But it's a triangle. It's not a square, and there's squares and rectangles, but the triangle is there in optical illusions.
Okay.
It really and then once we figured that out, that's the answer to it. Then we took the other cards and placed it around so I could really see. Okay, so if I look at it from this angle, it really is that way. That is crazy. So all these shenanigans are going on. Well, and there's tons of different, not tons. There's several different forms and shapes you can do. Several different games and configurations. Thank you that you could do with these, and. Some of them, if you have enough players, you can have a traitor in the group.
Hey, I'm all on board suddenly.
And if we had enough players, I would have just be like, yes. Because yes. And the traitor will have a card that has a completely different picture on it with different shapes that shouldn't even have any business involved with the others. And this person would be like, no, that's wrong. We need to put this over here, and completely mess it up.
Okay.
Which, I mean, there are several people that I know of in my gaming group that would just
I'm never the traitor, just for the record.
I feel like that's a lie.
So
You did not roll high enough on your bluff.
How does this game compare to some of the other kind of classic communication co-op games, like Hanabi? Have you played that?
Oh yes, that one is just beautiful. I love that game, and
but it sounds like this is somewhat similar.
Kind of similar. It really reminded me of what was that? It's like a cat stacking. I collect cat games. Cat stacking with the cats have to be in certain shapes, and you're trying to get them in the right shapes. But that one is competitive, where
I know the game you're talking about. I think it's like Kitty Stack or something.
Yeah, Kitty Stacks. Yeah, not to be confused with Cat Stacks, because that's a different game. But Kitty Stacks, which again I'm terrible with.
But it is adorable because it's a bunch of really cute cat boxes that you have to stack together.
Exactly, and they all have their cute little faces, and they're precious. And I'm terrible at it, and it just frustrates me because it's I'm doing this on my own. But with mental blocks, I'm working with somebody else, so I don't feel like I'm not. as frustrated
for
with
it.
this exactly, but I am going to make you struggle. Not intentional. It's just going to
Well, it
happen.
also sounds like I think the game was called Tutti. If anybody remembers in chat, we talked about it before. It was the Inuit snow and rock stacking game. I think was called Tutti. I'm not 100% positive, but you'd be given a card that's like, this is the rock formation you need to make, and then you would have to build it real fast with your blocks. And so it sounds like it's similar to some of those elements kind of put together into one game.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Okay. So who would you recommend mental blocks to?
People who have a lot of like that visual perception, that's really good with being able to like stack the games like that. Or maybe if you don't have that, this game would be really good for like,
Developing it?
Yes,
Sure.
training your brain for that. And it's what I really enjoy about it too is that it's so tactile, and because I really enjoy games. I want to touch things. I want to grab things.
So it sounds like it's a good game for folks who like communication co-op games.
Yes.
People who like tactile games.
Yes.
And games that are about kind of 3D visualization.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if you're the type of
Tuki was the game. Thank you.
yes, my brain died. Just totally
That's what we have notes
shut
for.
down.
What game would you like to talk about next?
Yes.
So we talked about Bargain Quest and Mental Blocks and Terra Below. So we got 3 left.
Let's do medium.
Okay.
That one.
And this is one I was intrigued by because I'm a huge fan of Mysterium, and the advertising for Medium made it sound similar. Is it?
No.
Okay, great.
No,
Good.
not at all. It's literally a kind of like a mind reading game.
Okay.
What
Is it like Wavelength then? Do you know?
I have not played Wavelength.
Okay.
It's I don't even really know what you would compare it to, because it's pretty much like what you do is you have a card, you put a card down, and it'll say a word like mine would say tower, and then you would have your hand of cards, and you'd want to put something down that maybe could use the word tower. And is that what I said? I think it's what I said, tower. So what your goal is, you want to try to get both of us to come up with the same word together. And we go, we count down 3, 2, 1, and we say the word. And we want it to be the exact same thing. I'm trying to read your mind using the cards that we have on the table.
So you play a word.
Yes.
And then I play a word.
Yes.
In the hopes that we will conclude the same third word from those 2 words combined.
Exactly. And if we can do that first try, we get a little point token that, hey, you did on the first try, you get more points. That's great. If we fail at this, then I say, a word, and you say a different word. Well, those 2 new words are now something that we're going to have to use to try to come up with a new word.
Okay.
So
so we're trapped in this until we can escape, is what you're telling me.
pretty much,
Okay.
yes. Which when I was introduced to this, when I was taught this game, the gentleman that I was playing with, we didn't get a single one. It was really pathetic, and I love you, Sammy, but oh my goodness, that there was no connection whatsoever with us, and the whole time.
It definitely sounds like the kind of game you want to be specific with who you play it with. Because some people you will be on the ball with, and other people you won't.
Yes. When I played it again, I made sure that, because like the only thing I could think of the whole time is I need to play this with my wife, because like we'll finish each other's sentences, we'll say the same thing at the exact same time, and it frightens people. It's fantastic. And so the whole time that's all I could think about. I need to play this with Haley. And so when I finally got to, it was we just kept getting every single one on the first try, and that was great. That was fun. And I mean, we do that on our own anyway.
Sure.
Just.
So Will, one of our production people in chat, said it sounds like code names mixed with the mind.
Ooh, yes.
But it also
yes, very much like the mind.
But to me, it sounds a lot like Wavelength, where it's a kind of a game where people are saying things, and you're trying to get them to kind of gauge where a secret needle is. A lot of those kind of hidden information, secrets kind of stuff games.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really simple. It's a nice, quiet game, and I mean, it's something that I can imagine me just like keeping in my purse for if I'm waiting for my food and something. And quiet.
Other games I think are similar. Kind of reminds me is Just One, which just came out. I think it won the Spiel des Jahres. And
that was fun.
I had another one in my mind too that escaped. I can't remember now. Anyway.
Didn't play that one very well with Sammy either.
Okay. All right.
Love you, Sammy. Yeah, no, it was. I thought it was really cute, and when you play with multiple people, and I can't remember how many people this could go up to. I want to say 6, but I might be wrong.
When you're playing with multiple people, are you still pairing off, or?
So you are, but what it is so if it's you, me and Sammy are trying to figure out a word together, and so a miracle happens and we get it first try. Well, I'm going to take that token and it's going to sit in between me and Sammy, and that's our shared points. I get it's like a 5-point token. I get that 5, he gets that 5, and then you and Sammy are going to pair off, and Sammy totally missed it, but you guys managed to get 2 points out of it. So now you have 2 points and he has 2 points. So Sammy has 7 points right now.
Kind of sounds like Concept.
I have not played Concept.
It's another very good play. Like it sounds like there's a lot of these communication-y games. Concept, you have this big board of these kind of abstract symbols, and you're putting tokens, and you draw a card that's kind of like a list of different things. It could be a movie, a book, a person, an animal, a place, things like that. And you're trying to put tokens down on the board on these abstract symbols or these category symbols to try to get people to guess what the thing is.
Sounds kind of like a Nomia.
Yes, I think I've heard similar things about that.
I won't play that with my wife.
Okay.
She's mean.
But Concept has that same kind of thing where you can play with multiple people, but you kind of share points between sides as you go through.
Okay.
So you have micro teams that form and break up over the course of the game.
That's fantastic. That's cool. There's people I would like to play that with.
Okay. So Medium, it sounds like is it a relatively small box game too?
It is.
Sound like it's super complicated.
It's like about this big of a box, and you could just take a few decks out of it and put it in your bag, so you have a few options to play with when you're at dinner or something. Because I just do that. Games live in my purse because boredom sucks.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Yes. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. You're just trying to read the person's mind. And what's really interesting too is that while we're doing this and we're drawing from the deck, there's going to be 3 crystal balls in this deck, and once you draw all 3 of them, that's when it signals the end of the round. That's when we know the game is done.
Okay.
So it's not like you go through the entire deck. You have up until these crystal balls come up, and they're cracking. So each one has a different set of cracking, but they're mixed in there. So one of them will be more cracked, and then another one will come down, and it's oh, it must have healed a bit.
Sure.
Because crystals can do that?
Well, I mean, the rules may not say whether the time is linear when playing Medium.
No. Oh, no, because it's magic.
So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of spite in this game.
No.
It's fully co-op with whoever you're partnering with at that point.
Yes, exactly.
So it doesn't sound like it's going to be very aggressive either,
No.
assuming you play with somebody who can handle it when you don't read their mind.
Yes, exactly. And then, they just yell at you, or I yell at them.
Probably
Sammy,
not
what
the
were
game.
you thinking of?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like the game you want to be careful with who you select to play with, because it can either go really well or you could end up frustrated if you're on a completely different wavelength.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sammy and I are never on the same.
I'm detecting a theme.
Absolutely, yes. I yelled at him a lot.
So what game would you like to tackle next?
Ooh, okay. So Curios.
Okay.
That one I learned the other night, and I am in love with it.
Oh, great.
It was,
Because this, I think, was another one that came out at Gen Con this year, I think.
I believe it did.
Okay.
I think so, yes. And you're an archaeologist. All of you are archaeologists.
Okay.
And very competitive, and the spite. Spite is great in this game.
Okay.
So you have your little pawn dudes, that's your archaeologists, and there's 4 civilizations, and what it is they all have these really pretty looking gems, and again, like the eggs in Terra Below, and it's something that's so pretty I have to touch it.
Sure.
And so these gems are the way that they're cut, they're really shiny and pretty. So and people who like shiny, pretty things, this game's nice.
Sure.
And so what it is there's several rows for you to be able to put your little pawns on these.
Different civilizations.
Yeah, different civilizations. And Egyptian history is my favorite. I love it. So that was literally like why I grabbed the box.
Sure.
Oh, they have an Egypt theme. I need it. I want it. So you have cards that are there's cards for each civilization numbered 1, 3, 5, and 7. And you shuffle these cards and put one in above each civilization. And then the rest of the cards are dealt out to the players. And what it is you are trying to figure out which of these cards have the higher numbers on these civilizations, because those are going to be the civilizations that you want. Because as you're collecting these artifacts, when you do scoring at the end, those artifacts are going to be whatever number is on that civilization. So if I have 3 artifacts from Egypt, and the number that's on the Egyptian civilization is a 7. Well, each of those artifacts are going to be worth 7 points. So we're kind of betting and gambling on these using the cards in our hand. And if you
using the cards in your hand to deduce. And using the cards in your hand and the other player's behavior to deduce where you think the most valuable cards are in different civilizations.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're like, you want to try to maybe like freak out another player by being like, oh, I'm going to bet heavy on Egypt. So I'm going to put my little pawn over on Egypt for them to think that, oh, that must be a big number. Maybe I have 2 Egypt cards in my hand and I know. No, you just wasted your time over there. I'm going over here to Greece, and I'm taking all these from Greece now, because you just used all your pawns. And because you start off with like 5 pawns, but you have the opportunity of gaining 2 more, and the way you do that is you reveal a card from your hand. So if I have like for China, if I have a 1 on China and I'm like, well, it's not a 1, so I'll discard that here, and you can see, oh, well, clearly that number is not going to be a 1.
But
so
it's giving up
sweet.
information that you otherwise had.
And that way I can gain another archaeologist to bid more with.
Okay.
And usually, like with these logic games, I'm absolutely terrible with logic games. Terrible. And my wife just like annihilates people at logic games. And I was happily surprised. And of course, I didn't really figure out how the game worked until like halfway through, and somehow I won anyway.
That's what the first game is for.
Exactly. And I'm just like, just doing things willy-nilly, not really paying attention to what I'm doing. I just want all these really pretty gems, and that's what I'm focusing on. And I also had a good hand, so that kind of helped. And so I won the first one, and then by the time we played again, then I'm like, oh, I now know how this game works. I'm going to annihilate everybody. No, I was like the last player.
Yeah. Usually, like the cycle of playing a game is, I have no idea what's happening. I won. I totally know what's happening. I have lost horribly.
Yes.
You need to take a little time to kind of meet the middle ground.
Yes.
Okay.
And it totally didn't help when like one of my cohorts was like, oh, I know Liz likes this one, and I don't want her to get this artifact, so I'm just going to put my little dude here. And because each time, so there's different rows on each civilization, and it'll have like one, like you can only put one little meatball or one little pawn on the first.
Time.
You have to fill the row.
Sure.
So you put 1 on the 1 circle, and that's your 1, and you can get an artifact for that. And then the next is you have to put 2 of the pawns, and then the next one you have to put 3 of the pawns. So when I have like 2 pawns left, and everybody else has had all their 1 pawns available or already chosen on their thing, placed on their thing. And then Chase comes over and is like, well, I'm just going to put these 2 here, and now you can't put any more pawns out. You're stuck. And I just wasted 2 pawns. They're now hanging out. I can't put them out, and I just totally lost.
So high spite level.
Oh, massively.
Okay.
So spite. He just.
So spite is still carrying through to this day.
Very much so.
Okay.
And it was a very pleasant game, and all of a sudden you can just have like all these points you didn't expect that you were gathering, and or you were really betting on a civilization that you thought was going to be it, and it wasn't.
So it's a betting game with secret information.
Yes. Yes.
It kind of reminds me of Cursed Court, which I played for the first time at Origins recently. Very, very good. If you like that feeling of having some information, and you know that other players have some information, and you might share the information a little bit, but you're just trying to place bets as to who's going to end up, being worth points in the end.
Yeah.
If you like that, Cursed Court is another one that's very similar.
Okay.
I'd recommend checking that out.
Yeah. I was thinking of, very, 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 very low similarity to
Sure.
Traders of Osaka, but that was the feeling I got as far as like the logic base of the game. And how the logic format works.
So that's another very pretty game.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love Traders of Osaka, and I will play. I mean, like I'm totally okay if I lose at it, which I've already accepted that I will lose when I offer to play this game, because my wife just annihilates everyone at it. I don't think she's lost yet, and but it's so pretty that it's okay because you're still enjoying the aesthetic of it, and. Yeah, and Jaipur is kind of similar to that too. But
I don't think
it's
I played that one.
Oh, it's good.
Cool.
I really enjoy Jaipur because it's like Traders of Osaka, but like Traders of Osaka light.
Okay.
I was able to beat my wife at that one.
That's definitely a high point for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so I think you have one game left.
Yes.
Which
this
is?
one was my favorite.
Okay.
We're Doomed.
Okay.
Is fantastic.
All right.
Utterly blew my mind, which actually works because what it is the world is ending, and oh, by the way, this can go up to like 10 players, so you have a lot of people. We're all going to be elites, and the world is ending, and we want to build a rocket to get off this planet. However, the rocket that we are building, you need to have 40 resources within the project that we are all going to work together to put these resources into the project. You have to have 40 to make one seat available. And then every 10 after that, you can add another seat. So maybe you can get in. And how you decide on who's going to be on that seat, while you're trying to gather the resources, you're also trying to gather influence. Because you want to be the one that everybody likes to be like, you're the one that should carry on humanity. Go forth. Yeah.
So basically you have two games going on. One is you need to, as a group, cooperate enough to build this rocket ship for anybody to survive.
Exactly.
And then the other is you need to get enough influence so that when the rocket ship hopefully launches, you are included in that and they're not dead.
Exactly. But, you know.
I think we covered this in Kickstarter, because I believe it was on Kickstarter. I think so. And I think we covered it in one of our Table Takes episode.
It was very interesting. Very spite-filled game.
Okay.
I mean, while you're working together, you also get
a lot of the games that you brought this
things.
week, or that you talked about this week, are very spite-filled.
Munchkin.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So as soon as I saw this game, I was instantly like, I know the people I need to play this with, which is my typical Munchkin group. You know, we have, and with this group, we have a player who is the person you do not trust. And
I have no idea what that's like.
I'm sure. And so I have so many Johan stories. This kid's fantastic. I love playing with him, but oh man, he is the most spiteful player I have ever met, and it is just the best to watch him upset people.
Okay.
And but we do have rules. You don't trust Johan. That is the house rule. Don't trust Johan. And so whenever new players come in, he's just like, yo.
Han.
Yes. So when I brought this to family game night with the full expectation of Johan upsetting everybody and the hope for this, when we're elites, all of us get a specific type of thing that we all can do, and this is randomly given, so it's not like
each player has a different power.
Exactly. Okay. One of the powers being you can just nuke somebody right off the bat.
Okay.
You can spend resources to nuke people. And which, I mean, anyone can do it, but usually you have to spend 8 resources. This one specific person gets to spend 5. And not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping Johan would be one of them. Didn't happen that way. But other people you can do like, oh, you can take 2 influence instead of just 1, or you can steal influence from another person. You could steal resources from another person.
So very cutthroaty.
Oh, super cutthroaty. You know, because we're all elites with our own agendas,
Sure.
and I want to survive.
I'm curious what very detailed fictional story you created in your mind while you were playing this one.
Oh man!
How much
with
eyesight
Johan.
and romance was there?
I didn't. It's no. It's more of again. I don't anticipate to win, so I
Sure.
want everybody else to have a tough time.
Okay.
I just going into this game. That's already what that's my goal.
Sure.
I just want everybody else to just struggle. And so the thing with We're Doomed, while we're doing this, the moment you start the game, you have 15 minutes to build this rocket. And it's not something where you can be like, like with mental blocks, where you can just be like, oh, the timer stopped, we'll just keep going because I want to see how it ends. No, when the timer's done, it's done. If that rocket's not ready, we're all just doomed.
Mm-hmm. So this is too real is what I'm hearing you say.
Oh, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's intense. It makes it really intense. And the way that the box is set up, you put the timer like right on top of the box, and that's also where you put all your resources in for your rocket. And so that orange timer is just there staring at you to tell you, you guys better hurry. And it's, oh man, the fights. So when after everybody makes their decision and grabbing their whether they want to grab influence or resources, after everybody makes that choice, then you start bidding to be the next player to start the round.
Sure.
So and you bid by tossing resources into the project. Whoever tosses the most in gets to be the first player starting the next round.
Sure.
And they also get to be the one to grab from the event deck. And the event deck has a white card or a black card. If it's a white card, it's public knowledge and you get to read it aloud to everybody. If it's a black card, you don't read it to people, you just do what the card says. Mm-hmm. And these are meant to waste time. So, for example, there's all over the rule book, it says, do not shuffle the deck in big, bold letters. Do not shuffle the deck. Mm-hmm. First card that was pulled, shuffle the deck.
Okay.
So that's just hard, especially if you're somebody that's like, rule stickler and it's just not shuffle the deck, but you shuffle the deck. Okay, I'm shuffling the deck because there's no, you can't waste time thinking about it.
Card
just
rules
do it.
overrule rulebook rules.
Exactly. And when I played with my family group, one of the gals next to me, she like put this card face down in front of me, and I was like, "Am I supposed to grab that?" And she's like, "Don't worry about it." And so this card was in front of me for the whole game, and I was terrified whether or not to pick it up. Because if you pick it up and read it, then I'm gonna have to do what it says, and that might be a good thing, but
sure.
Judging on how the game was going that night, it might not be. And meanwhile, we had a couple new players that were a part in the family group, and my wife decided to partner up with one of them. Mm-hmm. So that way that they were like, okay, we're both going to get on this rocket, and it'll just be us, and this is going to be great. However, if one of them dies, then the other one can't go too. And guess who had the nukes? So the wife got nuked. She was not very pleased with it.
I'm not surprised.
And I mean, she beats me all the time. I didn't feel bad whatsoever. And so, her companion couldn't go either, which he wasn't very pleased about it, which it didn't really matter because by the time the timer ran out, we had, what was it? Oh, it was a disaster. Oh, by the way, too, before the timer even ran out. So this stupid events deck. My wife had to pull a card where she could not take anything, like she couldn't take an influence or a resource until she counts to 60.
Okay.
And so she's trying to count to 60, and then there's two people over here. Johan and his girlfriend are fighting because his girlfriend keeps stealing his resources, so he couldn't bid. So they're bickering. Maymay's over here just like giggling her head off because she's also like an evil player, and her goal in life is to upset Johan, which she was doing beautifully in the game. And then I'm just sitting here watching all this chaos like, I want to get on the rocket.
You have managed to collect quite the impressive menagerie of spiteful players together.
Yes.
Is this the natural final stage of a Munchkin player? Is do they blossom into a member of your group? Is that what happens?
Yes, I am very proud to say.
All right.
I have helped in molding these.
So
these
this sounds like it's a very kind of chaotic, simple game, but a lot of the cards that come up will waste time, complicate things, change things. So there's some party game elements to that.
Very much a party game. We were often scolded to be quiet because we were just all screaming at each other.
But that's also your top pick for the week.
Absolutely, that was my favorite.
So people who want to immerse themselves in spite are ready for We're Doomed.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. If you want a game to upset your friends and family, just get We're Doomed and just nuke them all. It's fantastic.
Great.
Oh man, it's so pretty. And just like the quality of the box and the cards and your little resource tokens and everything, I was very pleased with it.
Okay. And I think those are all the games that you brought or that you wanted to talk about this week, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that is kind of what has come out this week. Is there anything else that you want to say about yourself or about Uncle's Games before we leave everybody?
If anyone wants to see an event of a game that they want to do, by all means, come by and talk with us, and we would be happy to host a game. We just started doing Bakugan, which is growing crazily. That kind of surprised me.
Bakugan is back, I hear.
It is. I was really pleasantly happy with it, and everybody's just so cute with their little Bakugans, flicking them around and grabbing with the magnets and stuff. And then and these are adults doing this, and then there's these cute, just like an 8-year-old walked in and just his eyes were just huge, watching them, popping up and taking damage and all this stuff. And then one of the Bakugan players leaned over and was teaching him the game and oh, which card do you think I should do next? It was just, it was precious. And then we also just started doing the Star Wars Destiny too. A Discord group was like, hey, can we play at your store? And we were like, yes. And so that's really taken off. And it's just, we really want to be a community.
With your increased event space, you have more and more events. So if you're in the Bellevue area, you're saying stop by and play some games.
Absolutely, yes.
Great.
We very much want to play games with everybody.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you to Uncles for letting you come out and talk about games.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody learned about some new games and used their imagination to imagine what these new games would look like. And hopefully you can stop by your local store to see them in person. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you hopefully next week. Goodbye.